Sometimes I just wonder why I bother. Why bother trying to explain to people things that are complex and things that seem, well, that seem impenetrable, that have so many moving parts that it's hard sometimes in considering them to get the larger idea, which itself often is very simple. How do you get to the larger idea when you have a tangle of details in front of you, which is the news, right? That's the news that you want to get to, right? You're a local news, a news host and newscaster and journalist, which is what I do, David Tulis. How do you get people to care about things that you believe are important, and yet which are baffling and multifaceted, like a diamond? And I'm talking about the story of the defendant provocateur, the man who is the provocative defendant, Basil Marceaux of Soddy-Daisy, the man with two teeth, the man who is a perennial candidate for governor and for other high offices in our state, who has a dogged, very simplistic platform, similar, I'd say in a way, many ways similar to mine, in which he says no. I'm going to say no to roadblocks, and I'm going to say no to the offenses against liberty, which are always a form of theft, and they're a form of theft because they take your property and they take your time outside of your willingness to give them. They take them by force. So that is part of my news roundup today, and that is the Basil Marceaux case in circuit court. Judge Neil Thomas patiently listening through a long disquisition that seemed to go about 40 minutes, longer than I expected him to be patient enough to sit through, from Basil Marceaux with his slide projector and holding up his bespangled jacket, making him the best man, the Force Recon Marine, and the best man in the country, as he claimed in court. In a way, such comments are laughable, but underlying the rough exterior and the inarticulation of this perpetual defendant in criminal venues around Howland County is an argument which is just simply not going to go away. And he lost yesterday. Okay, the news is Basil Marceaux lost in court yesterday. The judge granting two motions by Soddy-Daisy and its attorney Sam Elliott, saying that no, one case is moot and the other case can't be, no claim can be made because the circuit court lacks subject matter jurisdiction. Being in the civil arm of that court, there's a criminal arm run by Judge Steelman, for example, and exclusively criminal cases. But Judge Steelman is a circuit court judge, he tells me. And then the other branch of circuit court being civil only, and that would be Judge Neil Thomas, who recently announced his retirement. So the second case from Marceaux thrown out for lack of subject matter jurisdiction. In other words, this is the wrong court. And in fact, so clear was that in Judge Thomas's mind that Marceaux was in the wrong court, that he said effectively, "You are not here. I can't see you. You're invisible to me. You're not here." By which he was saying simply that if a judge doesn't have jurisdiction, the matter before him and even the people before him are not visible. And he was saying that in a dramatic way, because obviously Basil Marceaux, a rather bulky 6-footer, 6'2" maybe, is clearly visible with his mustache and his bag, his Aldi bag of papers, and his shirt. I always dress up for you, my listener, when I come to the radio station. You know, I want to look good when I'm on radio, and Basil Marceaux doesn't have that idea that he should dress up for anybody, and so he'll go to court with an old shirt and some work pants, not trying to impress his judge by means other than his argument. But his argument did not impress Judge Thomas, who threw them out. And I asked myself, should I write this story in a rush to get it out today at Nooganomics.com? And I said, no other media is covering this story. And so I can give myself another day and be fine and make it as short as possible and yet have in it all the nuances. And because that's what my reader at Nooganomics.com expects. He knows sometimes it'll run long, but he knows that it's important. And it's not just quirky that David Tulis, the editor of Nooganomics.com, covers that story. David Tulis has read in detail with many markings the high court rulings upon which Basil Marceaux stands. Marceaux, 64, businessman, historian, military veteran, and longtime perennial candidate on an anti-state, you might say anti-police, anti-policing, if you will, platform. A protest candidate with no infrastructure, no party affiliation, and no support. No, I don't think anybody wrote him a single check in his endeavor to be the primary Republican nominee for governor back in 2010, or maybe it was 2014. But here he is. He's defeated. So that's, I guess, the leading story. And my listener, just hang on. I know you have just a couple minutes, and so you're going to have to hang on to get to further analysis about that case. But the high court, in a case that was brought by Kevin Davis, with the help of Jerry Summers here in Chattanooga, Jerry Summers won a remarkable verdict in favor of his client. And the case, the ruling in the last pages talks about unfinished business, and it says that the city's operation of city government has the most disturbing aspect. And what's happened in that case is that the disturbing aspect of the case, and the part of the case, the part of the claims of the city government of Chattanooga that the judges say is probably unconstitutional, is not decided in this case. And so it's been 17 years, and the district attorney whose grievance it is to pursue in court has not done so. And the district attorney here is an elected man, Neil Pinkston. He has not pursued his claims either. And it could be, as Marceaux speculates, that the whole bar, the whole judicial industrial complex, wants things to stay as they are and does not want to hear this case, nor the prior case that arising out of Chattanooga, I think 1991 maybe, and that case is Chattanooga versus Myers. That case specifically deals with the punitive powers of city government, and it in great excruciating detail, fascinating detail if you ask me, explains how a fine is not the same thing as a punishment, and how cities under the $50 rule, the Constitution's $50 fine rule, do not have power to enforce punishment upon the citizenry, a citizen of the city or in the city, a resident of the city, or someone passing through. It doesn't have that power. And all it has power to do is not to punish, which is different from a fine. A fine is more like liquidated damages in a contract. It is something that is agreed to and is not punitive. It is restorative of the status quo ante. In other words, a fine restores the lost equilibrium that the offender, the accused, right, the offender has done in violating an ordinance. So the city has power to enforce its ordinances, and the maximum punitive power, if you want to call it that in the general sense, is $50, and that is a fine. Now, punishment is something imposed by the state. That would be larger fines, loss of privileges, jail sentences after a jury trial, and so on. That's punitive. Okay, see, there's a difference, and so Davis, the later of the two cases out of Chattanooga, leaves open a sore, and the Judge Mickey Barker, who wrote the opinion, says this is going to have to be dealt with later, and this is a grievance that we can't really address in this case because Davis didn't have standing. He wasn't legally positioned properly to have us deal with the issue. So we're not going to deal with these issues, though they're right in front of us, because the plaintiff, the appellant, the man making the appeal, doesn't have standing. So they say, we decline to take corrective action at this time. From our further review of the record, we must agree with the city that the applicant lacks any legal standing to challenge the usurpation of the DA's constitutional or statutory authority. So you see, the judges characterize city prosecutions or prosecutions within the city as a usurpation of the DA's constitutional authority. To establish one's standing to bring an action, a party must demonstrate, and then it describes what standing is in that case. The court will not pass upon the constitutionality of a statute at the insistence of one who has availed himself of his benefit. So there's several reasons. The main ones I've given of why the court did not handle that appeal. So there's an open sore legally across Tennessee, and that's exposed there in the Chattanooga case, Chattanooga versus Davis, and that's the case that Basil Marceaux is relying upon. So we're gonna look at that. We're gonna look at that further, and we're looking at it because you, my listener, have an interest in constitutional government, because constitutional government has always in its eye, if you will, restraint upon the use of force. And that's what we want to have restrained more and more. While the nation state rises, while the police state rises, even under Trump, it's going to get worse than it was under Obama. It would have been even worse had Mrs. Clinton been in office. But there is a tendency in the federal executive to use more and more executive power, the police power, the war-making power against strangers, against people in their own countries elsewhere, and also here against the domestic population. Now, there is a proper use of force, and that would be in the death penalty. There's a story at WRCB TV News here in Chattanooga, a story by NBC News, which tells about an inmate, Tommy Arthur, who is in prison in Alabama. He's been 35 years on death row and was convicted not once, not twice, but 3 times of a contract killing in 1982. So he's been on death row, convicted 3 times. Each of the earlier convictions were overturned. What we could say would be on technical grounds. Governor Kay Ivey in Alabama has rejected an appeal that would have a wig that was used in the killing to disguise the killer, have a DNA test made upon that wig. She says, no, we're not going to allow that. There's no further evidence to be obtained in this case. The execution needs to go forward, and that's what she's worried. But the story talks about the efforts of this man to undo the death penalty. His first conviction was overturned, the story says, because the court found details of an earlier killing were improperly disclosed during the trial. He was tried and convicted again, and that verdict was tossed over a statement he gave to police without a lawyer present. Okay. And then at Arthur's third trial in 1992, Judy Wicker, his paramour, testified and named him as the hitman for the first time. She was paroled soon after. Arthur was convicted, sentenced to death for a third time, and he told the jury that he wanted to have a death sentence so that would be easier to appeal. So you see that there is a legal principle involved there. You want to have, if you want to have a dispute with someone, best have a dispute in the criminal context, so that if you're the defendant, that you have the highest burden of proof on the other side, and that's what he wanted and got. A very smart move by a capital murder. He is now the 3rd longest serving death row inmate in Alabama. The legislature has passed a measure that would speed up appeals and hasten an execution. Because after all, biblically and justly, there is swift justice, and justice is public. And in Christendom, justice is never delayed. And it's public. In other words, there is a public trial. There are witnesses required. The whole Western tradition of evidence is biblical. No one is required to testify against himself, and also borrowing from God's law is the protection of mates. That if you don't have to testify against your mate, because after all, if you're married, you and your mate are one person and one flesh, and so you're not. If you're one flesh, you're not required to testify against yourself. There's no punishment for not testifying or speaking for yourself or in your own defense. The governor as I mentioned, in April 26th, said no on the petition for the wig being reviewed for DNA. She says it merely recycles the same request and contention made by Arthur for more testing on a piece of evidence that has been shown to contain no DNA profile. If the state executes Mr. Arthur on May 25 as planned, says his attorneys to Hannah Ham, he will die without ever having had a meaningful opportunity to to prove his innocence, an outcome that is inexcusable in a civilized society. Claiming, in other words, that there's not been a trial. Well, that's just, I don't have to comment on that, do I? You know what to think about that. There's no comment needed from David Tulis. He lets his listeners decide for themselves. It lets his listener, that is to say, you, my listener, decide for yourself. Another story that also is on TV3. By the way, TV3 does seem to be the best television station in town. It has a very good website, very usable, user-friendly. TV9's website is just a mess. I have a hard time getting things off of it. But TV3 is good. And there's another story that I want to mention. It says it's by staff, so it could be developed from several sources. But it's a story about Volkswagen's brilliant software that was found by a researcher, Kirill Levchenko, from the University of California in San Diego, to be the mechanism by which the automaker had its cars, which had their own, you might say, their own artificial intelligence, right? Their own swarthy, witty, crafty systems to elude the good people, right? To elude the good people in Washington with their tests and their emissions exams. And what happened is, as you recall, the manufacturer had cars that would come out clean during tests, but were really emitting 14 times the level of allowable fumes out the tailpipe. And these findings were released at a conference, a symposium on security and privacy in San Francisco on Monday. This was Monday. And we were able to find the smoking gun. Levchenko says we found the system and how it was used. And this is according to UC San Diego Jacobs School of Engineering website. But the codes, this coding that allowed the car to know when it was being tested and to know when it was not, was found on the company's own maintenance website and on online forums run by car enthusiasts. So car enthusiasts are people who just love Volkswagens, and they spend all the time discussing innovations and technologies and developments, even repairs. And there was the fraud right here in public view. Levchenko says, how does it work? You're my listener. You're the guy listener. You like to have facts, right? and you're not ashamed of or not shy of hearing the details. Conditions of the test are both standardized and publicly available. The code found in Volkswagen vehicles checks for a number of conditions associated with the driving test. Okay, you already have the gist of it, such as distance, speed, and even the position of the wheel. If the conditions are met, the code directs the onboard computer, according to TV3, to activate emissions curbing mechanism when those conditions are met. The Volkswagen defeat device is arguably one of the most complex in automotive history. Kirill Levchenko, the computer scientist, is quoted as saying. And so my thinking is always, well, here we have intelligent industrialists and profit-seeking companies defeating the good people in Washington. And the thing defeated is innocuous and probably and mostly harmless. And even though it's 4 times what's allowed, it still is innocuous and harmless and injures absolutely nobody. Absolutely no soul is hurt by even the sum of all the emissions of these cars that are defeating the EPA rules. And I say that not because I'm heartless, not because I want to see animals writhe in death because they can't breathe, or I want to see plant life yellowed and soiled by dirty air, which of course they're there to clean, right? They clean the air in the process of photosynthesis. Not because I want to see those things, but because I'd say that the marketplace is intelligent and government bureaucrats are not. and often rules imposed by the state against prosperous businesses are unreasonable. And here we have an example of innovation, technical innovation, not very well hidden, however, defeating the goals of the good people in Washington and in the global environmental elites. This is David Tulis. We're brought to you by McCoon Law here in Chattanooga. We argue that near is better than far, that small is better than big, and the simple is better than complex. And down the footnotes in the 5-point type, in the Helvetica type, personal is better than corporate and physical than abstract. This is David Tulis, the editor of Nooganomics.com, our chief sponsor, Nooganomics.com.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. 3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
2 men accused of robbery have been arrested in Chattanooga after the help of the community in identifying 2 men who appeared in the surveillance camera video. Hamilton County Police and Hamilton County Sheriff's Office investigators located and arrested the 2 men who apparently also wanted in a robbery of a Citgo on Lee Highway. Peyton Cleveland and Bailey Roddy both charged with aggravated robbery. A woman who was a co-owner of a tree removal service was crushed by a tree and killed. 39-year-old Chastity Elaine Weilman was killed in Ottawa when a tree fell on her. The circumstances are being investigated by the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigations Division. Cleveland police say a man was found passed out in the Sonic drive-thru. When they shook him awake, he said he blacked out and didn't know where he was. A .45 caliber handgun was found on the passenger seat of his car, according to police, and he was arrested as he's a felon. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect a cloudy, foggy, and wet start to your Tuesday with areas of rain pushing through, tapering off some for the afternoon. Highs into the upper 70s tonight. Lows near 62 with some more late fog. A few more scattered showers and thunder showers Wednesday. Highs near 75 with a few lingering showers Thursday as well. Keep your lawn and garden looking great all summer long with Glass Farm Nursery, featuring all sorts of color, from hang baskets, flats to trees and shrubs. That's Glass Farm, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm Sports Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core.
On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
The Harrison Brewer Tank Club Open Car Show. Be there Sunday, May the 28th, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Tennessee River Park on Amnicola Highway. Spectator admission is free. Pre-registration's $20. Day of the show, $25. Judging begins at noon. Goodie bags, door prizes. The proceeds benefit your local area.
7 specialty trophies: best paint, best interior, best engine, most unique, best tire and wheel, best club participation, and best of show.
The Harrison Brewer Tank Club Open Car Show, Sunday, May the 28th, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Tennessee River Park on Amnicola Highway. Choose Exit Realty Scenic City. Need to sell your house? Want to buy another house? Choose Exit Realty Scenic City. Our goals are simple. If you're selling, we get you the best price possible in the quickest amount of time with the least amount of hassle. Our agents are professional, competent, and courteous. We stay in touch every step of the way. If you're buying, we make sure you get all the information necessary to choose the right house in the right location at the best price. Exit Realty is one of the fastest growing real estate companies in North America. Our agents have extensive training, state-of-the-art technology, and full support that allows us to do the best job possible for you. If you're in the market to buy or sell, call us today, 423-551-EXIT. That's 423-551-3948. If you're an agent or considering a career in real estate, call us today. See what Exit Realty can do for you. No desk fees, residual income, technology to the max, and people first. Call us today, 551-EXIT. That's 551-3948. We're located at 7610 Hamilton Park Drive, just off the Bonnie Oaks exit.
Need a tiller to get things going for the spring? Spiff up your porch, maybe your deck? Come on by and get a pressure washer at Action Rental. Family in town, need some tables and chairs for an event? Come on by and see us. Action Rental. This is Dan at Action Rental on Lee Highway. Come by and see me. Action Rentals.
Final expenses, funeral costs, cemetery lots, unpaid medical bills, probate cost, debts. Debts are due and payable upon death of debtor. Will these costs produce a burden and hardship on your loved ones? Who will be responsible? How will they handle them? These costs can total many thousands of dollars, only compounded greater with the grief of losing a family member. A safe and secure way to provide for these costs is with an affordable life insurance from Covenant Group Insurance and Financial Services. Covenant Group is a local company with local agents. Covenant Group still makes house calls. Covenant Group only represents A-rated companies. With many options to offer, Covenant Group can accommodate almost any budget. Great discounts for good health and plans available for impaired risk. Call today for a free, no-obligation consultation in the convenience of your home. Call Steve or Jada at 423-855-8484. Call today, 423-855-8484.
I've got a $10 bill for you at the best paint store in Chattanooga. David here. Hi. Big savings right now on paint and stains. Chattanooga Paint and Decorating. More than a paint store. Ring up a can and keep that $10 bill. Save on select paints and stains at Chattanooga Paint and Decorating. More than a paint store. Pittsburgh, Porter, Glidden, Prolux, Olympic, Flood. $10 a can. Savings this week. Jim and his team are here to help and advise and to help you hold on to your money. 5529 Hickson Pike. Chattanooga Paint and Decorating. ChattanoogaPaint.com.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Now, the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Tulis.
There is a legal remedy called quo warranto, which is a powerful, common man remedy against the good people, whether in his state and probably even in the federal realm. There is an action quo warranto, and certainly in a local context, quo warranto can be used to demand on what authority a state actor, an official, maybe someone involved in an annexation is doing something. Now, in the statute, in the Tennessee Code, there are a couple of uses. If you do a search for quo warranto on LexisNexis online, by the way, it's free, Tennessee Code annotated online. It comes up in two instances. Well, actually in three. One, in contesting an annexation ordinance, and then in the second version in Title 55, one can use this action in what it says restraining violations. It says chancery courts have jurisdiction to grant injunctions restraining violations of this chapter, and so I'm not quite sure. I haven't done really look to see what's allowed or not allowed in on this point in that regard. But it is. It says where a violator is a corporation, domestic or foreign, the charter rights, franchises, or privileges of the corporation or the privilege of doing business in the state may be revoked in a quo warranto proceeding brought by the Attorney General and reporter. So in that instance, the second instance in the Tennessee Code, the action is filed by the state through the District Attorney General or the Attorney General and reporter. That's to say the governor's attorney, right, representing the state. So quo warranto is viewed there as an action against a private party or corporate party by the state. But in the use I'm thinking of, it is a private use by an individual against a state actor. Now that's something that is used defensively, of course, and it's used, or it could be used offensively, and that is what Basil Marceaux, the defendant provocateur out of Soddy-Daisy, could consider, because he's trying to make an argument in cases that he has that have standing, live criminal cases in which he is the defendant. And if you're trying to make an argument, a legal argument, you have to have standing. You have to be accused somehow or have a case that you have filed civilly. And since he's arguing about the use of criminal statutes in Tennessee, he's using a criminal cases in which he figures as the defendant, as his vehicle, right? Your case is your vehicle. Your case is the means by which you drive home the point. You get behind the steering wheel of your case. You're the defendant. You've been accused by the police. You've been arrested. You've had to make bond and so on. You go to the preliminary hearing in Sessions Court or City Court, and then you have, once all that happens, right? Once you've been abused, you have standing to sue. You have standing to make your claims. But now in his case, or his cases, his standing has been sort of shriveled up. His standing seems to have evaporated in the two cases he mentioned yesterday in circuit court. He was in circuit court trying to keep alive two cases that gave him the standing to make the claims. And the claim again, in short, is that city governments in Tennessee don't have authority because of the what's called the $50 fine rule in the Constitution. They don't have authority to impose criminal sanctions, and that, in fact, they don't have authority to operate an agency that enforces state law. And so that's the claim that he's making, and he's not making them from his own mustachioed lips. He's making them repeating words from the Tennessee Supreme Court in two Chattanooga cases. These are Chattanooga versus Myers, early 90s, and then also Chattanooga versus Davis, which came out in 2001. A Jerry Summers case. Jerry Summers, very proud to have that decision, but Jerry Summers apparently doesn't believe it either. Doesn't believe what Marceaux says is very clear in the writing of Judge Mickey Barker, local former Supreme Court justice, retired now, living on Lookout Mountain. He wrote the opinion. So we have these local people involved themselves in this case that's still alive today. It's a case that makes claims today upon how you, my listener, are treated by the police officer. And that is what we are going to mention, is how you are treated by the police officer. There is afoot in Chattanooga a search for a new police chief. Mayor Andy Burke has named a committee of people to help him, as it were, to come up with candidates and to create at least an appearance of a perspective or a policy that he will, listening to the constituency, right, use to decide who the next chief will be to replace Fred Fletcher, who will have been in that job for 3 years, and who is now retiring, and possibly getting benefits from TACRS, the Tennessee, not TACRS, the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement, TCRS, the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System, where every civil employee in state government, every Tom, Dick, and Harry that has any connection with government is part of, right? All these people who work for the state are in this retirement scheme that is a capital pool of greater net worth than the state itself, just so you know. And so the mayor is looking for advice, and so the question is, what is the question Marceaux is raising, and has been raising for at least 6 years, he says, does this man have authority to arrest anybody in the city limits, or is he simply the head process server to bring notices of court action to individuals? That's what a process server is, and that function is handled now by the sheriff's department in Hamilton County, and as I understand it, and so are police officers military people, you might say, occupying the land and representing the state and its interest as against the people and their interests, right? Enforcing the law against the people. That's also called security, right? We call that public safety and security, but what it really is something quite different than how it's sold and how it's defended, especially by conservatives. Conservatives are very good at defending the impositions, the freight against the constitutionally protected liberty. So we're gonna talk more about that, and I don't want to tease you and then not deliver the goods. But Marceaux lost his claims to have living cases yesterday. Soddy-Daisy's arguments won in Judge Neil Thomas's court. I thought Judge Thomas had great lenity and grace to the defendant, who was able just to ramble on in an argument that had some legal argument in it, and that's what I would have, if it had been my case, I would have made it purely a legal argument, no history, no Emancipation Proclamation of 1866, no claims about being a Marine veteran, force recon, and the strongest and best man in the country. This kind of thing. This is not doing Basil Marceaux any favors to make claims like that. But anyway, he made them because he's a kind of a character, a very colorful character, and has his one idea before him, and that's that cities have civil authority only and cannot enforce statute. This is flatly contradicted by Sam Elliott, and I have a great quote from him, and we'll hear a brief interview he was giving me on the way out of the county courthouse yesterday. And he said he declined to come on the program as he had offered earlier to do after the hearing. And so I have his quote for you to hear. Do tune in. This is David Tulis. I do thank you for giving me just a couple of minutes of your time. We are here at AM 1240 and FM 92.7, and the name is David Tulis. I cover local economy and the free markets, and I'm trying to give a positive view. I'm trying to give people a sense of optimism and a sense that they really can do things, and they can be if they have to have opinions and have to be informed about things, that they can really be for the right thing and endorse and applaud the right, and if they're Christians, even pray for, right, the right thing, and not be simply distracted or have very vague prayers about the country, the state of the country and that kind of thing. But there are specific things that Christian people can pray for, and specific people and their arguments whom they can pray for, even though they might fairly be described as despised people, like people who are poorly regarded, who are not respected, who are lampooned perhaps in the press, and who don't make a great impression with the wise ones of the world with their fine shoes and their fine suits. We have an economic problem in our country that really comes from the rejection of the people of the United States of constitutional government, and they've rejected constitutional government because they've rejected the underlying truths that allow for constitutional government, that being a biblical framework, and that's a long erosion in Christianity brought about by the kind of thinking that characterizes Franklin Graham. Franklin Graham is one partisan in Christianity. And he and his father, Billy, have taken the side, we could say, as against a side that is hostile to the sovereignty of God and hostile to the right understanding of the law of God. That being summarized in the Ten Commandments. And the law of God is not something opposed to grace, right? The law of God is a form of grace itself, because without God telling us what he expects of his people, and expects of all mankind, then there's no way we can know how to live our lives, how to run our countries, how to run our families. We don't really know what to do. So there's the standard of human conduct in the scriptures, and the Americans have rejected that by and large, in exchange for a kind of privatized belief system where the only thing that matters to God in their view is the individual soul, and the individual soul converting to become a Christian. That's the only thing that matters, and nothing else in the whole world matters except that one thing. And that's why Franklin Graham came. And rather than talk about the state of the country and what Christians can do about it, his whole case was, his whole 20-minute speech down at Coolidge Park was an argument for people to become Christians. In a way, it was kind of ludicrous to think. Think if you had a party organizer in early Russia, right, in the time when Lenin was alive, trying to gather people to the Red Party. Everybody in the room is a comrade, right? Everybody is staunch activists for the party, and the speaker spends 20 minutes urging everybody in the room to join the party. That's kind of what Franklin Graham did. Our country has rejected honest money, and so it is being bereaved and being impoverished by the fact that we don't have lawful coin and currency. We have, but we have something that seemingly would counteract that and outweigh it, and that's free money. Right? We're in an era of free money, and all the solutions that we seem to be hearing from the political side, the national political side, is we just need to have more free money. It's hard to see it. Even Henry Glasscock, the very respected auctioneer here in Chattanooga, he's a real estate broker, and is telling about 5 houses he has going at absolute auction, I think Saturday. You'll have to find out more from him about that. Very beautiful properties. Some of the not well cared for older properties. One with a view of from the crest. Even he doesn't really analyze the national problems in terms of this phenomenon of artificial money, paper money, fiat money. But that's what we have, and the argument we have is there is no alternative to what we have now in the national sector. There is an alternative. That's what we argue for here at the David Tulis program. The alternative is being outside the money economy, being outside the debt economy, not being a debtor, not being beholden to finding your identity, but finding your reason for being in brands, right? In physical acquisitions of goods, name brand goods, goods that give you esteem in your own mind, in the presence of others. This is the decapitalization. It's like homosexuality. It's a different kind of decapitalization, but one that is long in progress and reducing all of us into poverty. In the coming meltdown, you, my listener, you're going to lose half your net worth. Now, you may say, well, I'm not in stocks. Well, good. I'm not in mutual funds. Well, that's fine. Annuities. Well, I don't understand annuities, and I'm not in them. Well, that's good too. That's very good. But every time there's a dollar in free money created by the artificially low rate of interest that I asked Henry Glasscock about, that reduces every other dollar unit's purchasing power. And we have a huge expansion going on. The Federal Reserve Bank, which is a private consortium of banks, it has $3 trillion in debt that is taken on, calling these debts assets, right? It's got $3 trillion in assets. It's just a private business. How can it amass that much dodgy paper, and then monetizing federal debt itself in addition to that, and putting it into circulation as if it were real money? That's what's happening. If we have, Charles Hugh Smith says, in order to fund its many promises, government must borrow immense sums of money that will never be paid back. The only way governments can afford to borrow immense sums that pile up so quickly is this: if the interest rate is kept near to zero for all eternity, or until the current generation of politicians retires, or the currency follows Venezuela's currency to near zero, whichever comes first. As long as interest rates are kept near zero, even $20 trillion in debt, which is the bond market debt for the federal government, is management. Never mind if debt triples every few years, it's affordable. How? If interest rates are kept near zero. So what you have is you have a drunken party, and we have charts that Charles C. Smith posts showing untenable, nearly mercurially rising curves, looking at the federal debt. The total public debt has gone almost straight up. Not quite, but it's nearly to that point. Everybody can borrow more at near zero interest rates, governments and banks and consumers. Debt is the cure-all for too much debt. And borrowing by the government, interest rates consume all of tax. Well, if we have $20 trillion at 5% interest, he says, and that requires an annual interest payment of $1 trillion, that's a third of all federal revenue coming in. $30 trillion at 10% interest would consume 100% of all tax revenues, leaving nothing for all the programs, obligations, and promises of the state. There is no alternative, of course, to low interest rates, and the reason that is that, in other words, we have to have a continuing free money circus, a free money drunken party across Chattanooga and Hamilton County and beyond. Though there is moderation, drinking moderation here, we are told by people such as Henry Glasscock. After the collapse of bread and circuses in Rome, Smith reminds us the population went from 1 million to about 25,000. But now things are different. That won't happen to us. We'll simply get away with it, he says, because we buy our own debt. Technology is deflationary, and so on. So, in other words, we can have this free bread and circuses going on and on because we are powerful, and nothing is outside of our control. Well, I think that's a mistake. there's a lot that's outside of our control, as Gary North in his, I'd say, an important essay that came out yesterday, pointed out that in the next 20 to 30 years, there will not be any discretionary part of the federal government's budget. Right now, it was 16% a couple years ago. Now it's about 14%. So it's going down to zero. All politics is about that tiny part of the overall spending plan of the national government. Well, when it's zero, there will be a fight between three groups. Well, between three groups, two of them are on one side and one on the other. Alone on one side are AARP and all the old people. In other words, your granny and your grandpa. They are much better organized than the administrative state, all those agencies of the president, funded by that. And they're much better organized than the pentagram and all of its hangers-on and suppliers and contractors. That's a large number of people, but in the end, the old people will consume the federal budget, and the warfare state and the administrative state, North predicts, will simply collapse. There will be the devolution that we want. So he says this, and I think it's a very witty thing to say, that midterm, the federal welfare state is the friend of liberty, because that group of people, 10,000 being added daily, will consume all federal spending. It will consume all federal spending. That amount will never rise above 20% GDP. Apparently, it's a fixed amount. The government, even if it raised taxes to 100%, could not get more than 20% of GDP. It's never happened, even during World War II, when income taxes for some passed 100%. So we have a good prospect. And in the meanwhile, in the next 20 to 30 years, the question for you is, what about your children? How are they viewing you? Remember, you're going to be an old person someday. What have you done to train your children to care for you? Is there some biblical training that they can have? Is there your showing of care to your parents that they can use as a model for how they will treat you? You see, these are local economy solutions to this problem of the old crowd, and there'll be a coalition between old people who don't want to stay with their children and children who don't want their old parents to move in, and that will consume the federal budget toward 2050. This is David Tulis.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
iBuyChattanoogaHouses.com, Chattanooga's premier house buyer. Do you have a house you need to sell fast? We are buying. Call us today. We are local folks. We will buy your house as is, no repairs needed. We will give you a cash offer and close on the day of your choice. Call us right now, 423-834-7321. Need to sell a house fast? We are buying. Are you experiencing one of these situations? Inherited a house you have no need for? Behind on your property taxes? Nightmare tenants making your life miserable? Too many repairs needed and don't have a desire to fix? Behind on payments and facing foreclosure? Recently divorced and need a way out of the house? Never really wanted to be a landlord and just want to cash out? Trying to relocate and need to sell your house? Do you need to sell a house fast? We are buying. No fees, no hassles, no repair costs. Close on the day of your choice. Our process is simple. Call us today. We inspect your property right away. We make you a fair cash offer. We close on the day of your choice. Call us today, 423-834-7321. Visit our website, iBuyChattanoogaHouses.com. Call us today, 423-834-7321. iBuyChattanoogaHouses.com.
Need windows? Hey folks, do you need new windows? Good news. Window Depot of Chattanooga has a great special going on right now. 10 high-quality, energy-efficient double-hung vinyl windows installed for only $29.90. That's right, 10 double-hung vinyl windows, only $2,990. And yes, they qualify for the TVA rebates. Call 894-0011. Window Depot of Chattanooga today, located at 5950 Shalford Road. Call 894-0011 today.
He stole out so much cash, such a huge mountain of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis. You know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling. Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash catching the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is. Brainerd Road. Rick Davis, Gold and Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Gold and Diamonds. Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
Are you shovel ready to build a house, but you're not a builder? Are you shovel ready? Michael's Homes is ready to bulldoze its way to a solution for you. You have ideas on what you want in a house, but you're looking for someone to bring your ideas into a plan and turn your plan into a house. Michael's Homes, custom builder. Michael's Homes has lots available at a new subdivision, River Bay Estates, that's Harrison. Maybe River Watch in Soddy-Daisy. Choices galore, lots, houses, beautiful homes all over Chattanooga. The Canyons, Hickson. Crystal Brook, Appison. Drive in, take a look, consult with us. We build on your lot or ours. Homes-Chattanooga.com.
Call 423-413-9929.
It is Eric Jones hard into the outside wall, and they are still 3 and 4 wide. It looks like we're racing at Talladega.
Caution flag is out. It looked like Denny Hamlin was trying to get by Ricky Stenhouse. Got into the back of Ricky at the line. Man, that's a close one. Matt Kenseth wins stage 1.
Green checkered flag is out, and Brad Keselowski has won stage 2.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. into the wall. That will bring out the caution. Caution waving once again. And again, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. involved.
Oh, trouble. Ty Dillon has gotten turned to the inside of the racetrack, and Clint Boyer has just nailed him.
Matt Kenseth falling back, the field storming by. Something wrong. Now we see sparks from Kenseth's Toyota.
Larson chops him off. Coming off turn number 2.
WBLZ HD4 Ooltewah. W224AZ Chattanooga. WSDT Soddy-Daisy Chattanooga.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. We have breaking news at this hour of 2 major stories from Great Britain, the death of James Bond star Roger Moore and last night's deadly concert bombing in Manchester. First to Manchester, where CBS's Vicky Barker has the latest on the suicide attack at the end of an Ariana Grande show that killed 22 people.
British police have named the dead bomber as 23-year-old Salman Abedi, who was known to the authorities. A second 23-year-old has been arrested. The sophistication of last night's atrocity could signal a sinister new phase in terror here.
Sky News correspondent Colin Frazier tells us some of the surviving victims were children.
12, a dozen of the 59 people who've been injured are 16 and under, are school children. And yet we do not know at this stage what proportion of the 22 fatalities will also prove to be children.
The crowd had begun filing out of the arena when the bomb went off, and there was a stampede for the exits.
All of a sudden we heard a bang, and then all of a sudden that was it. There was pandemonium everywhere.
British Prime Minister Theresa May.
We struggle to comprehend the warped and twisted mind that sees a room packed with young children not as a scene to cherish, but as an opportunity for carnage.
In New York, CBS's Don Dahler is following reaction on this side of the Atlantic.
Security has been beefed up at high-profile venues such as Madison Square Gardens here. Overnight, the NYPD's heavily armed Hercules units were posted outside the arena. NYPD officers are also guarding the British consulate. Other police departments like the LAPD and the Chicago PD say they are monitoring the incident.
ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack in Manchester. Now to Roger Moore, who died in Switzerland today of cancer at the age of 89.
Well, actually, Captain, I'm with the British Secret Service. The name is Bond. James Bond.
Is he?
Are you?
Yes.
And I'm Dick Tracy.
Moore spent 12 years playing the British spy who craved danger and romance. On television, he played the Saint and Cousin Beau in the 1950s Maverick Westerns. President Trump left Israel for Rome within the past hour. Before leaving, the president and Mrs. Trump laid a wreath at the Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial. The president's day began in Bethlehem, where he met with Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas and spoke optimistically about restarting peace talks.
Both sides will face tough decisions.
but with determination, compromise, and the belief that peace is possible, Israelis and Palestinians can make a deal.
Rain is on the way to places that have already had too much.
I'm Jim Crisula. With as much as 6 inches of rain expected, flood watches are posted for parts of 8 states in the deep south and southeast, from Texas to North Carolina.
In early trading on Wall Street, the Dow Industrials are up 14 points. This is CBS News.
Maybe the salesperson was telling the truth. Maybe lots of people do love their timeshares and don't mind the higher fees, lack of availability, and added pressure to always buy more timeshare while on vacation. But if your timeshare doesn't fit your life, do what thousands have already done. Call resortrelease.com to cancel your timeshare today. Resort Release's #1 goal is to help you get rid of that timeshare once and for all. They're the nation's largest and most trusted timeshare exit company. A+ rated and accredited with a Better Business Bureau. ResortRelease.com guarantees to get that timeshare off your hands and out of your life, or you don't pay. That's right, they'll do a free case review for you. It's legal, it's permanent, and the moment that timeshare is gone, you can start planning the getaway you really want. Don't let your timeshare fees increase. Call Resort Release, 888-308-5955, or visit us at resortrelease.com. That's 888-308-5955.
An unidentified flying object violated South Korean airspace today, but as we hear from reporter Don Kirk in Seoul, this was no visitor from an alien planet.
A flight by what appears to have been a North Korean drone over the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea added to tensions 2 days after North Korea's latest missile shot. South Korea's military command says the drone apparently turned back after South Koreans fired about 90 machine gun shots and warned it to go away over loudspeakers.
Jury selection was set to resume in Pittsburgh for the Bill Cosby sexual assault trial. 5 jurors, 3 men and 2 women, were picked yesterday. Actress, socialite, and heiress to the CW Post and E.F. Hutton fortunes, Dina Merrill, has died. The show business newspaper Variety says Merrill died at home in East Hampton, Long Island. She was 93. Frank Settapenny, CBS News.
I've been talking with small business owners about.
Expect a cloudy, foggy, and wet start to your Tuesday with areas of rain pushing through, tapering off some for the afternoon. Highs into the upper 70s tonight. Lows near 62 with some more late fog. A few more scattered showers and thunder showers Wednesday. Highs near 75 with a few lingering showers Thursday as well. Keep your lawn and garden looking great all summer long with Glass Farm Nursery, featuring all sorts of color, from hang baskets, flats to trees and shrubs. That's Glass Farm, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core.
On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
2 men accused of robbery have been arrested in Chattanooga after the help of the community in identifying 2 men who appeared in a surveillance camera video. Hamilton County Police and Hamilton County Sheriff's Office investigators located and arrested the 2 men who apparently also wanted in a robbery of a Citgo on Lee Highway. Peyton Cleveland and Bailey Roddy, both charged with aggravated robbery. A woman who is a co-owner of a tree removal service was crushed by a tree and killed. 39-year-old Chastity Elaine Weilman was killed in Ottawa when a tree fell on her. The circumstances are being investigated by the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigations Division. Cleveland police say a man was found passed out in the Sonic drive-thru. When they shook him awake, he said he blacked out and didn't know where he was. A .45 caliber handgun was found on the passenger seat of his car, according to police, and he was arrested as he's a felon. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio. Now, the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Tulis.
And you, my listener, who do not wear bow ties, you can be the smartest person with a regular tie. If you just tune in to the David Tulis program and all of our other wonderful shows here, Sean Hannity, and you can be the smartest man in the world of sports if you tune in to Colin Cowherd at noon, and you can know more about the deep state than anybody you know by tuning in to Alex Jones in the evening hour. And if you want to know about netherworld doings, you just have to tune in to Coast AM in the late night watches. If you have that long trip home and you're in your car by yourself, and you've got us on the TuneIn Radio app, and that's how you find us, the TuneIn Radio app, free, and there just type in Nooga Radio. We're live on Facebook at Nooga Radio and on YouTube, our YouTube channel at Hot News Talk Radio. You know, that's how you can see whether my bow tie passes. Jeanette, my beloved wife, turned and shook her head at me as we got into the car today, but that was too late to do anything about my bow tie selection. Though she couldn't figure out why I wear a blue jacket and a slightly striped shirt and a brown tie. It doesn't work, she said, but she just bit her lips and sat down and resignedly stared through the drops of rain on the windshield as we left my house this morning. Well, this is David Tulis, and we're at AM 1240 and FM 92.7, and it's 800-8949, 800-8949, and we're trying to figure out what the story about Basil Marceaux is, and I'm the journalist who has taken the trouble to get to know Basil Marceaux and to ask him questions and to say probably many times, Basil, I just don't get it. Have I said that to you many times, Basil?
Yes, you did. Before you get going, I wanted to say about your bow tie.
Go ahead.
If it was yellow, it would be the most powerful bow tie on the air because yellow is powerful.
Well, I don't believe in yellow because it has negative connotations of cowardice attached to it. So I don't think I have a yellow bow tie.
That makes sense.
Well, you were in court yesterday, Basil, and we're going to hear now. On the way out, I ran around trying to find the attorney in the opposing side, and that was yesterday. That was the attorney for the city of Soddy-Daisy. I'm trying to find my cursor on the screen here, and his name is. His name is Sam Elliott, and he is telling us why Basil Marceaux lost in court.
Yeah, this is Sam Elliott just after the Basil Marceaux hearing before Judge Neil Thomas. Okay, what happened today, Sam?
There are several cases through the years where there's been some discussion of the jurisdiction of city courts. And city courts have two types of jurisdiction. They have jurisdiction over municipal ordinance cases, which are, as the Supreme Court has held, essentially civil penalty cases. And then certain city courts, not all of them in Hamilton County, but some, East Ridge, Collegedale, Soddy-Daisy, Red Bank, have general sessions type jurisdiction. In other words, they can hear state criminal cases like a general sessions court could. Mr. Marceaux, that a lot of lawyers get that wrong, and Mr. Marceaux has gotten that wrong himself. He had two state criminal cases pending in the Soddy-Daisy Municipal Court. One of them he waived up to the grand jury. In other words, he didn't even have a hearing in Soddy-Daisy. Instead, the case went on to the grand jury. He pled guilty after an indictment from the grand jury, and the criminal court, he pled a guilty plea in the criminal court. Since that case started in Soddy-Daisy in the municipal court, but there was no disposition other than him waiving it up to the criminal or to the grand jury, he went ahead and he under that misapprehension I'm speaking of, he decided that he should have a new hearing in circuit court. Well, no, that case was over and done with in 2014 in criminal court. So after a judgment is set for a certain amount of time, it's final. And so that's what's happened to one of his cases. The second case, he had a driving on a revoked license in Soddy-Daisy. It was pending in Soddy-Daisy Municipal Court, and the court dismissed the case. So there's nothing to appeal to circuit court. So that was the two bases of what Judge Thomas ruled today.
So he had no grievance and no injury to appeal from And therefore, there was no issue. Was that your motion for lack of jurisdiction?
Well, the lack of jurisdiction, lack of jurisdiction that's been done 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, and it's been final, and there's no appeal from that to the circuit court. Okay, lack of subject matter jurisdiction. A court can only hear a case that it has subject matter jurisdiction to hear. That's one case. The second one was one in Soddy-Daisy where it was still pending. The judge dismissed it, and so there's nothing to appeal because he got a favorable outcome in that case.
What about his overall argument that cities are civil only? Is he right to allege and assert that cities don't have criminal jurisdiction for TCA violations within their borders?
He's absolutely wrong. Period.
And so Davis and Myers don't affect that.
They don't say what he says they say. The bottom line is the legislature made a provision some years ago that if cities decide to utilize a criminal court judge or a criminal sessions proceeding in their municipal courts, that they can elect to do so. And in 1990 or 1992, I forget which date, Soddy-Daisy elected to do that. East Ridge has done it. Red Bank's done it. Collegedale's done it. Chattanooga has decided not to. So that may create some of the confusion too, because you have some courts where locally that's done and some where that's not.
Well, how does Chattanooga prosecute criminal cases then in Sessions Court, through Sessions Court for crimes committed in the border of Chattanooga?
That's what they do. They go to Sessions Court, which is the court. If you don't have a municipal court that has that jurisdiction, then you've got to go to Sessions Court.
So city court in Chattanooga handles only traffic cases, and all criminal cases go through to Sessions if they happen in the city.
It handles municipal ordinance cases, period.
Thank you, Sam.
You're very welcome. Bless his heart. I know he's.
Yeah. This is Sam Elliott.
We were here, David Tulis. We've been hearing Sam Elliott, the city attorney for Soddy-Daisy, yesterday afternoon after an hour-long encounter with perennial candidate Basil Marceaux, and also, you might say, defendant provocateur Basil Marceaux of Soddy-Daisy, who has been in court in criminal cases for many years, defending what he understands to be constitutional liberties. And Basil, okay, you've heard. The listener has heard the analysis of what happened in court yesterday from your rivals, your opponents. What happened yesterday? Address what Sam Elliott said about Sessions courts and city courts being right places for criminal cases to be prosecuted, because you say otherwise. What do you say, and where is he wrong?
It doesn't matter what the statute says, just like it doesn't matter what lower courts say. The Supreme Court in Frank Barrett versus Davis and Kevin Davis versus Davidson County says difference. It said the cities or civil cannot do state crimes as an ordinance. Now, I made a song of that. That's on my website. It's called No, What You Say. 2 Tennessee Supreme Court rulings merged. You can go read it and define it for yourself. But yesterday, the judge, after an hour, I wasn't there about the case. I was there to open a new court. I had 2 hours to make a new court, but
you mean you had 2 hours to make an argument?
I had 2 weeks to go investigate, then come back and argue about a new court. The case wasn't even on the line yesterday, because by him saying that, the motion to dismiss was mooted, because he said, I'll give you 2 weeks and I'll give you a court date. I'll give you either a 1-month jurisdiction or I'll give you a 2, but you have to prove to me that a 2 is the way to go.
Okay, let's back up here. This is David Tulis, and the question now for you, Basil Marceaux, is what do you mean by 2-mouth jurisdiction versus 1-mouth jurisdiction? Because you're arguing that you're saying that you had been sort of ordered by Judge Thomas to find a way to create a court that would hear an appeal. Why do you need to have a special court? What is different about your appeal from the appeal of my listener, let's say, in a criminal case against him?
It's all involved with the question you ask in higher court. You can ask, it was said to me once, the higher court will answer the wrong question right. And also, if you ask them the right question, He would also answer the question right. I asked, can criminal court hear my case from city court 14 times? And they said no. Now, I didn't know if they did to me because I was just a pain in the butt. So another citizen, Jeremy Shin, he went there with pot, cocaine, and pills. Said he didn't have jurisdiction over the matter because it was civil. Don't matter what city you're in. It don't matter if you're a home rule or regular rule. Changing the rule by the city by another rose, a rose by another name is still the same. Both home rule and regular rule is the same. They cannot do state crimes. Sheriffs cannot come in. Cannot make a contract with a sheriff or a sessions court. So
you're saying well, hold on back. You're being a little bit cryptic.
Well, the bank robber would always say, "No, I'm not the bank robber." And I classify all city attorneys because they wrote the charter with making a city judge a two-mouth judge. Where now the dilemma I have here, I have cities and county attorneys who create courts with two-mouth jurisdiction that the higher court says don't exist. At the same time,
they have to be created. Then
at the same time, I'm going in, and they say I'm circuit court supposed to have two jurisdictions, one of sessions and one of circuit. But when I got there, he only had one. So
and what was his jurisdiction?
And he said he didn't have jurisdiction to make one. But on the other hand, the county attorney and the city attorney for years created one, the sessions court and city court, where they created a two jurisdiction judge by having a charter.
This is getting really confusing. Are you saying let's just back up? All right, right now we have sessions courts that are county courts, Hamilton County, and if you're charged by a police officer in Chattanooga city limits, you're cited to that court. He should be arresting you and booking you and jailing you on a criminal charge, but he doesn't do that. He cites you to the sessions court of Hamilton County. Is there something wrong with that? Is that
actually
allowable? Can you do that?
Most cases, you go to jail. You have to put a bond up in those cases.
Well, how come no bond is required of people who are cited for state law violations to sit to a sessions court?
Well, it's said that that would be up to the police officer. But back in 2000, in Tennessee, in Chattanooga versus Davis, it says in there that the Chattanooga chief of police told everyone that when they cite someone, they have to cite it as an ordinance and not state crime.
Well, what does that mean? Why is that important?
Because if you have it cited as a state crime, you go to jail, you get fined, you lose your license, you reinstatement fees. But if you go and cite it as a city ordinance, the maximum fine is $50. First offense, $5. No court cost, no appeal cost, right to a jury trial. And when you go to that jury trial, you're supposed to have a trial de novo, where the circuit court
trial de novo, which means new trial.
Yeah, then each one of these mandated orders from the higher court ruled that I was in the wrong court. I was arrested for ordinances, and which my case was insurance, registration, and driver's license. Was a city ordinance, and being was in the city, he had no jurisdiction over the matter. I'm supposed to go to circuit Tennessee Civil Court of Appeals, and not them.
This is David Tulis and caller. You're live on the air at Nooga Radio with me and Basil Marceaux. What is your question or comment?
Okay, we're going to make him the second smartest man in Chattanooga. And here's one of the problems. I'm going to give you my observation.
Well, who's the first smart? Oh, that's me. Okay, go ahead.
Well, that's you, David Tulis.
Okay, sorry, I forgot.
Okay, so here's my observation. A lawyer once told me, when I told him he was violating the Constitution, that the Founding Fathers are dead. He smugly said that. And I said, that's why they continue to manufacture ropes. And you may end up on the end of one soon. I don't think he liked that. However, they don't care. You know, listen, didn't it say that judges had to be elected clearly, specifically? The courts ruled that. And they continue to appoint them. They don't care. Do you know why they don't care? Never forget this. We're under occupation. When you're an occupied country, state, province, or region, you're under occupation. Words don't matter. The law doesn't matter. It's only might, power, connections, and politics. We are in a state of lawlessness in this republic ever since Lincoln, and we're under occupation. And I want your response to that. Thank you.
Okay, we're under occupation, Basil Marceaux. And what I think you made that point yesterday. In fact, you brought up the Emancipation Proclamation of 1862, and also mentioned another document of 1866 in a somewhat rambling and historical and personal exhortation yesterday.
That was the 40 acres and the Muir Law that was revised 5 times on July 16th.
What does that have to do with your arguments about limits on city jurisdiction?
Well, let me comment on the occupation.
Go ahead.
I invite everyone to go to Nashville. We'll take a bus there. And when we go there, we'll go to the military park that wraps around the Capitol. Now, being a Force Recon Marine, the best soldier in the nation, when you look left, you see me, my group, the best soldier. But then out by the front door, you'll see the occupier, like this gentleman said, a Greek soldier, the Trojan horse. He's 12 foot high at my front door where I'm only 4 foot. He's not even supposed to be there. So the citizen that called in is correct. We are being occupied ever since Thomas Jefferson became a Democrat. Because he signed the Constitution. All states in the Union supposed to be a republic. No concave government should exist in any state. But in 2017, every state has a concave government.
Concave?
I guess ENCLAVE.
Oh, enclave government. Okay.
And today, every state has one. We call it democracy. And they force all the Republicans to be a democracy. And that would make me a traitor if I was a Republican, and make them the traitor and a invader, like Thomas Jefferson.
Let's get.
So that's back to him.
Want to get back to the real issues here, and I think if there was a fault in your presentation yesterday, is that it wasn't strictly a legal argument. You had this historical material about the Emancipation Proclamation. You held up your jacket with your regalia and insignias on it, making out that you're someone different. But my listener, I'm sorry.
Freedom Bureau agent.
A Freedom Bureau agent, which you say has special authority. Well, what about my listener? He's just an ordinary guy. Why does this matter to him? In what way, let me ask you this, in what way are you defending his interest? Because he's a common person. He has a driver's license. He follows all the rules he's supposed to. And he has this uneasy sense that even here in Chattanooga and Hamilton County, things are not like they should be legally. What are you doing to further his interest? What is your argument? What will happen if you're right? What will happen if you win, Basil Marceaux?
I already won. They don't know it yet, because my main goal was to go to circuit court from criminal court, from a criminal court. It don't matter if they had 2 mouths or 1 mouth or whatever they had. I transferred my case to a criminal court. The only answer that judge should have gave, I reject this, and I send it back to criminal court. But he couldn't, because there's no statute that allows him to do that. And the second thing is, reading over the dismissal of the city attorney, over the city attorney dismissals, there's not one thing mentioned in there about he already ruled and I can't do it. He can't do it. I'm not here. I'm disappeared. I'm invisible.
Yeah, he's
all that stuff. Let
me just tell the listener, and you'll be able to read this in the story that I'll be publishing today. The judge said, "You are invisible. You are not here. I can't see you." He said, "Hang on a second." Well, what was his point? Why did he say? You're more or less paraphrasing him there. What was he saying, Basil Marceaux?
Well,
what was Thomas saying?
He was saying if I didn't have an appeal because he dismissed the case, and
the lower judge.
Now, but that's not what the statute that we used to appeal on says. It says any person who is just not happy with the case can appeal.
Case in the lower court
can appeal to circuit court, tribal de novo.
It does say that.
It says that. Now,
in fact, Marty Lasley,
and I was unsatisfied because he did not find me guilty. Because I was there 3 times, just like all the other citizens. He puts it off, come back, puts it off, to add to the court costs. But I was there 3 times. before he gave me the final argument. So when the judge ruled that yesterday, he had no authority because it wasn't on the table. Neither party mentioned it. He can't represent this. He can't rep the city of Chattanooga when it's Soddy-Daisy, but he did by saying that because it wasn't on the table. And then on top of that, he didn't take into consideration that I was there 3 times before.
Well, you're the one who, Basil, you're the one who asked for a continuance twice, right?
That's right.
That was you doing that.
No, he kept saying, I'll give you time to get your license. I'll give you time to get your license. But meanwhile, it cost me $800 to get my license.
Okay, this is David Tulis. We're talking with Basil Marceaux. A little mystified in some of the things he's been saying about his hearing yesterday, but we've got their 2 stories up on Nooganomics.com that were advancers on the hearing. And I'm almost done with another story. If God ordains, I can finish it and publish it today at Nooganomics.com. The website for the man who matters, looking into deep and troubling issues.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
2 men accused of robbery have been arrested in Chattanooga after the help of the community and identifying 2 men who appeared in the surveillance camera video. Hamilton County Police and Hamilton County Sheriff's Office investigators located and arrested the 2 men who apparently also wanted in a robbery of a Citgo on Lee Highway. Peyton Cleveland and Bailey Roddy, both charged with aggravated robbery. A woman who is a co-owner of a tree removal service was crushed by a tree and killed. 39-year-old Chastity Elaine Weilman was killed in Ottawa when a tree fell on her. The circumstances are being investigated by the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigations Division. Cleveland police say a man was found passed out in the Sonic drive-thru. When they shook him awake, he said he blacked out and didn't know where he was. A .45 caliber handgun was found on the passenger seat of his car, according to police, and he was arrested as he's a felon. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect a cloudy, foggy, and wet start to your Tuesday with areas of rain pushing through, tapering off some for the afternoon. Highs into the upper 70s tonight. Lows near 62 with some more late fog. A few more scattered showers and thunder showers Wednesday. Highs near 75 with a few lingering showers Thursday as well. Keep your lawn and garden looking great all summer long with Glass Farm Nursery, featuring all sorts of color, from hang baskets, flats, to trees and shrubs. That's Glass Farm, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm Machine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core.
On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
Window Depot of Chattanooga. They're locally owned and operated and been around since 2008. Installing top-quality vinyl replacement windows. You get the best price and service in the area. Top quality double pane, energy efficient windows. They look great and save you money.
Oh, I love to save money.
You'll also save money on your heating and cooling costs. Call 894-0011. 894-0011. WindowDepotChattanooga.com. WindowDepotChattanooga.com. Sales and installation professionals. You'll get a fantastic job while helping to enhance the value, appearance, comfort, and efficiency of your most valuable asset, your home. Other window providers? No way. Window Depot Chattanooga's windows qualify for the TVA rebate. Sliding doors, gutters, soffits, fascia, garage doors, and other home improvements. If you want to save a ton, call 894-0011. WindowDepotChattanooga.com. WindowDepotChattanooga.com. Window Depot of Chattanooga. Sales and installation professionals.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field lines failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache project that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
Competent, kind, caring, knowledgeable, experienced, great listener, great negotiator, in touch, accessible. If these are the characteristics you want and need in a realtor, you want and need Thomas DeMoss of Keller Williams Realty. Thomas is a very gifted realtor who puts the client's needs first. Whether you're buying or selling a home, Thomas is the realtor of choice. Thomas will help and guide you through each step of this very important process. For many of us, the purchase of a home is one of our largest investments and most important family and financial decision. Let Thomas use his 10 years of experience in the Chattanooga real estate market to give you the advantage you need when buying or selling a home. Buying a house? Thomas can help you navigate the emotional and somewhat anxious process of buying a home. For those of you who want to sell a house, Thomas uses his marketing and negotiating experience to help you sell your home for top dollar. Thomas is a local resident, raising his family here in Hamilton County. He knows the area very well. For many agents, real estate is a job. With Thomas DeMoss, it's a passion and what he loves to do. Call Thomas today for a no-obligation consultation. He makes the process as simple as possible. Call 423-364-0028 and visit his website, northriverpropertygroup.com.
Need a tiller to get things going for the spring? Spiff up your porch, maybe your deck? Come on by and get a pressure washer at Action Rental. Family in town, need some tables and chairs for an event? Come on by and see us. Action Rental. This is Dan at Action Rental on Lee Highway. Come by and see me. Action Rentals.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio. Now, the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Tulis.
The editor of Nooganomics.com, the website for the man who matters. And no, it's not popular. And no, I realize that the things I write about there are not going to be, there's no eye candy. There are no women with low-cut blouses there. But the things that we look at Nooganomics.com are important because they look into the future. And they try to see the shape of the future, a post-state future, if you will, a libertarian and Christian-flavored society that develops over time, over centuries, in which there will be much, much reduced use of force against the people. There'll be much more virtue. There'll be much more godliness. And the minister of justice, the man who wields the sword against evildoers, he will know his place. And he will not be a merchant. He will not be in commerce. And he won't even have remembered the time of our time now, in which commercial government is the norm, where government is in business, where government is chief capitalist, chief entrepreneur, chief enabler, lender of all, and lender to all, and in effect the owner of many people. That is to say, the civil state, government, and I think what's happened is the state has come in front of government. We don't have government anymore as we used to. We have the state, which is a religious corporation. That claims many of it claims the three main attributes of God, that being sovereignty, under the headings of sovereignty, and that would be omnipresence, omniscience, and omnipotence, all power. And that's the modern state is on its way out. It has bankrupted the people under it. The people it is supposed to serve. It has stolen government from the people. It has stolen the Republican form of representative government from the people. And there is a continuing problem with it, and it doesn't know its place. Now in Tennessee we have free college. I mean, how can things be valued more than by giving them away, right? That just goes to show you that college education is worthless. It is worthless if it's given away for free and not prized and available only to a few. Then we know that college and university life is a rare thing reserved for elite thinkers and the brightest people. Well, this is David Tulis, and though I'm said to be the smartest person in Chattanooga, I'm not sure about that. In fact, I just forgot about it a moment ago. And I'm here in our studio at Nooga Radio with another man who's said by a caller to be the second smartest man in Chattanooga, Basil Marceaux, who is a character of note. And we are here at AM 1240 and FM 92.7, taking knowledge, if you will, of a man who's said to be a legal gadfly, said to be a kind of a crank, a troublemaker, a defendant provocateur. Provocateur is the French word for provoker.
A black horse.
What does that mean?
That means I'm on the outside coming up through.
A black horse, a man who is outside the law. Of course, a man outside the law is an outlaw. And through the ages, kings and monarchs and states have outlawed people, outlawing marriage, for example, and turning Constitution-loving, Constitution-respecting people into criminals. And we follow those cases here at Nooga Radio. And I'm thinking of the Gnome of Strawberry Plains and his cases, and also one that among all press people in Tennessee, I exclusively have covered. I have covered the Hirsch case in Lawrence County. No one else has. Somehow everybody thinks that it doesn't matter, and yet these are crucial cases, crucial enough to overturn entire legal systems if they are properly presented and if the judges don't weasel away from their obligation to deal with the tough issues raised. Now, based on Marceaux, you are raising some complicated issues, but I think what the listener wants to know now is who are you and why do you care? Why are you provocative in not, you don't object to being a defendant. In fact, you almost need to be a defendant in some case or other. Why do you accept that willingly, even though it's a horrifying thing to be arrested and charged and booked in jail? These are horrifying things that my listener dreads to ever happen to him. Why do you do this?
I make myself defendant because if a citizen does wrong, if a city or a state or a county does wrong to a citizen, their only option is to sue in circuit court with one jurisdiction, a lawsuit. And the first thing they say is state claim. What they mean was you have to find something claim that overrules their immunity. But there is none.
You mean there's no claim or there's no immunity?
There's no claim against their immunity. Now, this tribal de novo, on the other hand, could let you come in the front door against the city for those wrongdoings because the judges now is Sessions Court jurisdiction and mandamus. Once I win.
Okay, you're confusing me and everybody else. Okay. Let's just back up. Trial de novo is what you the listener have a right to a trial de novo if you have a criminal or civil matter in Sessions Court that with which you disagree. You have a right to an absolutely new trial. It's not an appeal. It's an absolutely new trial in circuit court. Though circuit court is a civil court, you have been accused of a criminal matter, and you have a right to be a new trial of a criminal matter in a civil court. That's in the statute.
Now, that was brought to me when I was in the Supreme Court years back. I was saying I'm a Force Recon Marine. I'll do anything for the citizen, protect their rights. Well, they told me that I couldn't do it under the lawsuit program. So one of those judges came out in the court, out in the hallway, and told me that I have to fight through criminal. I need to be arrested and fight it through that way. So I got personally, I've been arrested 20 times since then, just so I can protect your citizens from a wrongdoing that's been going on for 164 years. Now, so how I protect you? I see things that lawyers don't. Now, the things that at the moment, you only have one hope, the lawyer. If the lawyer don't listen to higher court decisions and the judge don't listen to higher court decisions, well, then you're screwed. Now, me, I just being popular and no one wants to make me more popular. They just, I have openings. I'm smart. I look at things with 21 different angles versus 2. If I do this, what would happen? If I do that, what would happen? So everything I do for the citizen, because if the higher court said in 1866 cities are civil, well, then they're civil. And every arrest since that date was false arrest. And it doesn't matter what, like I said, it doesn't matter what the city judge says or what the county judge says, or even the circuit court judge says. It's what the Supreme Court says. And the Supreme Court is the only body in Tennessee who can overrule a statute. And so they did. They said they can't do it. So
they said they can't do it. What do you mean they can't do it? What are you talking about?
Cities can't do state crimes as ordinances.
They can't. You're saying
like David,
court says
like David was reckless driving, state crime. They said he couldn't.
The city cannot. You cannot adopt the Tennessee code and then enforce it. You're saying
right.
That's based
because
on which opinion?
We have Alterman versus Alterman. Maynard versus Alterman in 1864. You have City of Chattanooga versus Myers in 1990. You got City of Chattanooga versus Davis in 2004.
That's 2001.
Yeah, it actually ruled in 2004, if I remember correctly. Yeah, meanwhile, and there's several other ones out of Knoxville that quote cities are civil. So, but if lawyers, you pay a lawyer. I found out in 2005 when Tennessee versus Puckett was ruled. It was a case about DUI. DUI is unconstitutional. You can't look for it. When I was sitting in court, I found all these citizens being found guilty when the Supreme Court says they can't look for it. And then I start following different cases, and they were all the same. They had no jurisdiction because the higher court said no, but no. The judge is supposed to rule by president. The judge is supposed to rule by presence. I
didn't get that. He's supposed to rule by presence. What do you mean?
Yeah, you know, a higher court decision. They rule.
Oh, precedence. Okay.
Yeah.
He's supposed to rule by precedent. In other words, the high court says something, and the lower court judge has to slavishly follow the directive of the higher opinion.
No. And the most important thing is here, and if you look under, I'm also fighting for your right. And under the Supreme Court rules, it says every court of record is supposed to have 2 video cameras running side by side simultaneously and be attached to your transcript. And I have a right to buy that for $50.
Did that happen yesterday?
No.
Why was that camera? Why were there no cameras in the court yesterday?
He told me he don't want no cameras. I brought that up yesterday in my argument. He said he didn't want no cameras, like he didn't want to change the flag from red, white, and blue and gold to red, white, and blue and gold. I mean, red, white, and blue versus red, white, and blue and gold. So those two things, he took upon himself and overruled the law. He says that the county owns the courtroom, but actually the citizens own the courtroom. So anyone who sees something wrong should be able to go in there and change the flag then and make sure they have. But see.
So you're saying, you're mentioning the flag thing. You're also mentioning the lack of a record as being a slight against the listener. Is that what you're saying?
It's against it's negative against the citizen, because the higher court wants to see the facial expressions of the judge. He wants to see the concord of the courtroom. If he sees the judge looking at the city attorney too long, make eye expressions, mouth movement, because if they all belong to the bar association, they're all members, and they all doing this at gunpoint. So,
what do you mean they're doing this at gunpoint?
Well, like in my case in Soddy-Daisy, he ruled that the judge dismissed, but no, I was there 4 times. The first time he says, "I'm not going to be a two jurisdiction judge. You can't make me, but I will let you pass it to get your license." So that very first one is the one that counts, not the last one, because the last one, if he didn't believe in my appeal and I didn't show up for court, he'd call the cops, bring me there at gunpoint, make me sit in jail, make me sit in jail all until next year. So I had to, even though I knew I appealed, I also had to go to court because he was going to throw me in jail at gunpoint. But which one's supposed to be first? My appeal, because I wasn't satisfied with him not being a one jurisdiction judge. It doesn't matter what he said. If he is not a one jurisdiction judge like the higher court said, well, then he can't make any decisions right. So I appealed it. When I got down yesterday, out of the blue, he blew my doors, and he just out of the blue when I said, sir, you're going to have to close down juvenile court. You're going to have to close down divorce court. You're going to have to close down child protection court.
Why are all these courts having to close down based on what you say, Basil Marceaux? Why does your interpretation of this opinion require that?
Because if the higher court said Sessions Court is civil and can't do state crime because they can't give a jury trial, well, all those other courts is sworn in by Sessions Court.
Well, we heard an interview with Sam Elliott, the city attorney, Basil Marceaux, who says he effectively ignores what you're saying. He says, well, the practice is all criminal cases in Chattanooga brought by the city police department have to go to Sessions Court. That he just says, effectively, our practice disregards the high court's rulings as you argued them. Our practice ignores the rulings.
Of course,
and that's all there is to it.
But they have to be that way, because if they say that's Basil Marceaux 0007.com, well, then they have to admit that every arrest they ever had was wrong, and have to refund all that money.
What you're saying is they can't reform because it would be an admission of prior guilt with thousands and thousands of criminal defendants treated apart from lawful authority. So you're saying they can't reform because it would be an admission.
That's right.
They can't do what Davis says because it would be a concession.
And the next thing I said to him after that was, sir, could you possibly step away from the Bar Association for my case? Because I think you may be conflict of interest. And that's when he came up with this and brought in something new. And when he violated again, because he can't bring new stuff in, he can only hear stuff that's on the table. And that section wasn't on the table. And he was representing the city. He was representing the city.
Who's the he? The judge or Sam Elliott, the Soddy-Daisy?
The judge was representing the city attorney, because prior to that, I told him I want to add the city attorney as a defendant, as a plaintiff. As a plaintiff, because he's the one that writes the city charter. He's the one that sits on the commission, telling them, okay, we can pass this. If anything comes out, I'll protect you in court. We're all immune. We can do anything we want.
Explain to my listener, Basil Marceaux, why this is important to the listener. Why should he care, or why does he care about what you're saying and doing? In a nutshell. Okay. I personally know many people that tell me that when they're driving down the road with a car and a police officer goes the other way on the other lane, all the way across the street on the other lane goes that way, they look in the mirror to see if he's turning around and come and get them. Now, I'll tell you, under my views, inside the city limits across the whole Tennessee, Florida, and Missouri, that will not happen anymore. If a tribal demobile court with 2 jurisdictions is open in circuit court, because then it is split. Now, well, it seems like you're making it more complicated than it really is. Let me try saying this out. Yesterday, I won. I went there to get a civil appeal in circuit court. He ruled that I can't because I'm invisible. But he still ruled. He still ruled. I won. Everybody else can file a court case from any city limit, pay the $250 and bond and the appearance bond, and go over there just like I did. Because you're saying you successfully appealed a criminal case to a civil jurisdiction because, again, it came from a city, an incorporated city, which doesn't have criminal statutory enforcement authority, thanks to the Davis and Myers rulings. Is that shorthand of what you're saying? And he didn't dismiss the case. He didn't rule on the city's motions. He favored the motions by Soddy-Daisy. He did. No, he didn't. No, those motions dismissed. He didn't say nothing about dismissed. He said and dismissed it, and his motions didn't have nothing about me filing an appeal beforehand. He also about 12. Based on by claim. Judge Neil Thomas accepted the motions of the city attorney and rejected your arguments, right? You were trying to defeat those motions, and the judge did not agree with you. He agreed with Sam Elliott, the city attorney. Sam Elliott wanted to put him back in criminal court, so he didn't answer either one of our questions. He brought a new question to the table. He represented the city
by saying you're not there.
You, Basil Marceaux, are not
there.
there.
But I was in circuit court. There's a docket number for me being there, and it shows me that the case was not dismissed. I shouldn't be yelling this stuff yet because he hasn't wrote his order yet.
Well, what bothers me is that there's no record of this. There was no transcriptionist there. There was no recording of it.
And that's for everyone that goes there. I can't see how no lawyer complains that they're standing in front of a judge with the wrong flag, and also they have no recorders of anything that goes on. So I made a little note. I wanted to say it's a battle between the stenographers and our rights. We need to close down the stenographers and put in the two video cameras that running side by side simultaneously, and sell these videos to the people that want it for $50 versus $500 in stenographer test fees and all these other fees, because it overrules the Supreme Court rules. It violates my constitutional rights if they did that. And everyone that goes there, it's just not circuit court, it's criminal court too. Criminal courts are a court of records, and they don't have them there either. There's in our county, we got 4 of them, 4 each.
This is David Tulis, and we're talking with Basil Marceaux. Basil, it seems like we're in the thick weeds here, but your argument is that essentially city governments don't have the authority to run police departments that enforce state statute, and you're making that argument based on City of Chattanooga versus Davis and City of Chattanooga versus Myers, which Sam Millian says you misunderstand.
And Jeremy Shinn versus Chattanooga.
And what was that?
Chattanooga versus Jeremy Shinn out of Tennessee.
It's a new case.
Tennessee Criminal Court of Appeals that says they have no jurisdiction over the drug bust in Chattanooga limits, and it must go to circuit court. Then,
well, that's the case I haven't looked at yet. And Basil Marceaux, you're going to have to introduce me to this defendant in the drug case. Is that right?
Yeah. So I just wanted to find if they just doing this good stuff and let me win all these cases. I want to see if a plain old citizen can win, and he did. But when he did that before he went to criminal court, and when he won, the criminal court judge didn't listen to the higher court. He found him guilty. So that's why I'm protecting you, because no judge listens to the higher court.
Thanks for joining us, Basil. This is David Tulis. We've been chatting with Basil Marceaux, defendant, who says he won yesterday, even though the Judge Neil Thomas granted City of Soddy-Daisy's 2 motions. This is a case which seems full of details, but there's a larger issue. There are larger constitutional rights issue. There are larger issues touching on the restraints of police power, of city power in Tennessee. This case and this defendant are not going to go away. David Tulis.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I've got a $10 bill for you at the best paint store in Chattanooga. David here. Hi. Big savings right now on paint and stains. Chattanooga Paint and Decorating. More than a paint store. Ring up a can and keep that $10 bill. Save on select paints and stains at Chattanooga Paint and Decorating. More than a paint store. Pittsburgh, Porter, Glidden, Prolux, Olympic, Flood. $10 a can. Savings this week. Jim and his team are here to help and advise, and to help you hold on to your money. 5529 Hickson Pike, Chattanooga Paint and Decorating, ChattanoogaPaint.com.
When my brother and I opened the first Jets Pizza, we believed if we made the best pizza, customers would find us. So we made fresh dough each day, used fresh toppings, and premium mozzarella cheese. 300 plus stores later, we still do.
Try Jet's famous 8-corner pizza with premium mozzarella cheese and 1 topping, now just $11.99 for a limited time only. Jet's Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jets. He stole out so much cash, such a huge mountain of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis. You know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling. Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash catching the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is. Brainerd Road, Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds, Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
I've been a customer at SNS 14 years. It's way out of my way, but I'm well treated. I believe what I'm told. Price is reasonable. David Tulis here. Make an SNS appointment today. This week, get $50 off any 30,000-mile service or timing belt repair. And get a free combat knife as a gift. SNS Auto Repair specializes in Toyota, Lexus, Honda, Acura, Scion, Nissan, and Infiniti. 6-time winner of Best of the Best Award in the Times Free Press. 855-3436. ssautorepair.net. 855-3436. What kind of name is Herb Garanzi? Anyway, Herb builds storage sheds. He's an Apison, you can call it. His sheds are cheaper than other people's. And the surprise is, when you go and look at them online or in person, they're sturdier than the other guys. Local economy at its best. Not shipped in from a factory in Minnesota or somewhere. Herb delivers. He'll set it up for free. Up to 12 by 24. Starting at $900. Blue, green.